Hi, my name is Dwight Gillespie. You are watching Change Your Life with Dwight Gillespie and Walter. And here we try to give you some practical advice on living, and as much as we can anyway. I want to thank you for tuning in. Please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. Comment, please, especially on this one, and you'll know why. Anyway, today I want to talk about changing your life. And is it possible? Do people change? And I've changed a lot over the years. I like to think anyway. I have one of my sisters who really doesn't care much for me, and that's okay because the feeling's quite mutual. She's, I wrote a book, Price Tags. Yeah, it's on Amazon. You didn't put in all these horrible things. Yeah, I said, yeah, you're right. I didn't. I did some horrible things 45 years ago, and they were. And I didn't for my own reasons, and not just mine, but for other people as well that might be hurt by it, right? So I didn't put these things in, and it was 45 years ago. And yes, I have a past like many people. But it brought the question, do people change? Do they change? And I used to be a very pro death penalty person. I believed, that an eye for an eye and all that good stuff. And something changed many years ago, actually, and I changed my opinion on that. I'm a very pro-life guy in many ways. I'm not an abortion advocate at all. And again, I don't get people do what they want to do, and the law is the law, whatever, And for me, I don't believe in taking a life. I don't believe in it. I've become quite a pacifist, and part of the reason is that I think that people need to have the ability to become different people, to change their ways. And I don't want to use the word repent, right? But I guess it fits, and not even in a religious sense, but just in a spiritual, in a very spiritual sense, to be able to atone for what they've done. I remember reading a thing about David Berkowitz, remember the son of Sam, and I think we mentioned this before. And David Berkowitz became a born-again Christian, right? And I'm not, but he did. He became that. And he started like these programs. From what I understand, he helps people get like their GEDs. He helps them get in drug programs. Like all of these things, like this guy's never going to see the light of day. He's in jail. I think he murdered 6 people, right? Wasn't it 6 people? Son of Sam? Walter's too young. He don't remember that.
I remember the movie.
Never heard of the movie.
It was a good movie.
A Spike Lee joint, right? Yeah. Anyway, but he's living a good life, not a good life, a purposeful life. Let's say he's making meaning out of a life, even though he's never going to see the outside. He has meaning and purpose in his life because he's helping other people who will. He's helping people get an education. Because let's face it, being incarcerated and things like this, and I work with people who are incarcerated. I work with the Queens Area Outreach Program, it's called, through a program that I'm in. And I work with incarcerated individuals to try to get them involved in drug rehabilitation programs and everything. When you come out of prison, if you have something to do, an education, and you're not going to fall back into those old patterns of using drugs and things like this, you have a better chance of not going back to jail. Let's face it. But this idea of redemption, this idea that can you be a different person? And I think of the person I was as a kid. And as a kid, I was a thief. I was a liar. I was a cheat. I did some horrible things. And I can see myself grow along these lines, and especially getting rid of the drugs. Because, I got to a point where, feeling the way that I felt about myself. I read all these self-help books, whether it was The Road Less Traveled or what color is your parachute or whatever, all these different books. And I read tons, but it wasn't until I read one particular book that said, and I don't really want to mention the name of it because I don't endorse different programs, but it's from the 12-step program that I belong to about addiction. I don't know. And it was the one that said, you have to stop using mood and mind-altering substances. And when I did that, when I read that, and I took it to heart, right? And I went to a particular meeting, and somebody told me, you never have to use drugs again. Like, you never have to do this. You can stop. And it was at that point where things really started to come into focus for me, when I said, I don't have to do this, right? And where I really started to make these paradigm shifts in my life. This is Stephen Covey. There he is, right? This is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Stephen Covey talks about making paradigm shifts and being able to see myself in a different light, right? I came into recovery. All I wanted to do was stop using drugs. I was a heroin addict, an active I'm still a heroin addict. I just don't use heroin anymore. I'm an addict, but it started me. I started out just wanting to give up drugs, and I wound up changing my entire life, changing my outlook. I went from a person who used and abused people to somebody who reaches out to help people, to help individuals. I mean, to hear my sister tell it, nobody will ever be recovered. If that's the way she thinks, is because 45 years ago I did some bad things, horrible things, right? Maybe whatever. That you can't be redeemed. I guess anybody who commits a crime or something like that should just be shot. Like, we should just take everybody out and shoot them, because if you can't be, rehabilitated ever, then what's the point? What's the point, right? And we just did one on toxic people, and for my money, my sister's a toxic individual, and again, nothing will ever be good, and she's vicious, and a lot of it had to do with the fact that I did something she can't do, and that was write a book and put it out and stuff. That's my feeling anyway. But and people like that will be vicious if they can. They will do anything to take you down, and that was her attempt to do that. But it did bring up that idea of, can you change who you are? And my answer is a resounding yes. But you have to want to make that change. You have to understand that. I mean, for me, I had to understand who I was in order to get past that, because, for a long time, it was all the circumstances that happened to me. None of it was my fault. It was the way I was raised. It was this. It was the drugs. It was my parents. It was society. It was God. Like, all of these things that were conspiring to get me. It wasn't until I stopped and I said, you know what? I did this. I made these bad decisions. I need to change this. And that's when I was able to make that paradigm shift and start seeing things differently. And once that happened, it opened up a whole world for me. It opened up all these possibilities for change, to become a better person, to care about other people, to put other people before myself for the first time in my life. To get off the couch and with the depression and the self-pity and all that other stuff that would go on, and to understand just how blessed and how fortunate I am to be alive, to be able to sit here and talk to you about this. And I talk about it all the time. If you woke up this morning in a warm, dry bed, right, and you were able to take a hot shower and have some good food to put in yourself, and a cup of coffee, and get your day going, then you're doing better than millions of people in the world who go to sleep with want of those very things, like, every night. And to understand just how blessed I am was a big part of making that shift, making that transformation in myself, to understand that I am not necessarily who I was. Not that I can't revert to that. And I believe, like, just add alcohol. I had a friend, Tony, who used to have a shirt. He said, instant, just add alcohol. And there are a lot of people out there who would argue that I don't even need the alcohol for that, but that's a different story altogether. And it really depends on the people. But I know what I'm capable of becoming, and I know who I am becoming. I know that at this point in my life, I'm not capable of being the person I used to be. It can happen again, and I can revert to that through a process of things that would have to happen. But I'm very happy with the way things are going in my life. And because of that, I have to be happy with everything that happened to get me to this point, right? But you can transform. I was a thief. We were talking about it on the way over here. I remember the first time I got caught stealing. I was in 2nd or 3rd grade, stealing water pistols. And, the guy who was at the campus sweet shop, and he found 2 water pistols in my pants. He said, "Why'd you steal 2?" And I remember looking at him like he was an idiot. Like, what, are you stupid? Who am I going to play water pistols with, myself? Like, Think, man. Think,
You're more thoughtful. You're a thoughtful thief.
I was a thoughtful thief, yeah. Well, no, even that was self-centered. I didn't want to play alone.
Yeah.
Anyway, I do believe people can change. And I've seen it. I've witnessed it so many times. I am in a 12-step program, and I've witnessed these changes in people. I've witnessed the miracle take place, and it is a miracle. When you can change your life, when you can become, like I've worked with hardened criminals, people that it just, you would cross the street from them, and they transform themselves. And again, I mean, for me in the circles that I travel, it starts with giving up the addictive substances, right? The mood and mind altering substances, and that's the first place to start for most people. But then that's when the shift happens. You start to take accountability and responsibility for your life, and so much can happen. It opens up a whole world, and in the fellowship that I'm in, there's a saying. It says, I'm not a bad person getting good. I'm a sick person getting well. And that's the way I look at that. And I really do. And I think that that's a good way for me to gauge where I'm at in life. And I think that's a good way for you too, anyway. But that's it. That's it. It's my belief. Let me know how you feel about that. Can people be redeemed? Can people atone for whatever sins they've committed in the past? Is it possible for people to change, like to really fundamentally change who they are? I believe it is, that with hard work and dedication in the process. And I also believe in that process that this isn't a momentary thing. I can't, it's not you change once and no, this is continuous. I have to continually make a progressive move forward. Otherwise, I'll slip back. I keep working on myself every day. I read every day. I do these things every day because it's important. Otherwise, I will revert to who I was. And that can happen quickly if I'm not careful. Anyway, have a great week. My name is Dwight. I want to thank you for tuning in. Again, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. Share it with your friends if you found something useful here. And by all means, comment. Let me know what you think. If you know people who've been incarcerated, if you've been incarcerated yourself, let me know what you think about this. I'd be interested to hear it. And again, we respond to everything. So be well. Thank you. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye now.